ReefDudes is sponsored by Ecotech Marine and Bulk Reef Supply. Check out the all-new Maxspect Ethereal Infinite LED fixture. What's going on, guys? Devin from ReefDudes. So Maxspect reached out to me and they sent me the Ethereal Infinite LED fixture to check out. Now, over the prior model, just looking at the box so far, we got a bunch of LED kind of accent lights in there, so you can kind of change it to go with the vibe of your room. And the prior design had a bunch of pucks around it, where this looks like a ton of LED diodes around it. So I'm expecting kind of more of a blanket of light out of this fixture, but let's pop it open and take a look. Come with a 2-year warranty per the sticker on the box. Some nice packaging for you, those of you that appreciate it. So it is actively cooled. This whole top plate is a giant chunk of aluminum. And there's plastic on the bottom. You can see all our individual LEDs that wrap around it with just a little built-in bubble lens, and there's a plastic coating over the whole thing acting as a kind of a secondary lens / moisture cover. We have our mounting hardware, our tank mounts. We have our power supply. Little cover. I think I'll probably test this on the Nano, and then I asked him, we'll kind of give it a smaller, bigger tank, do a little bit of par test and see how things are looking. Break down and skim the manual to make sure we're doing it right. So it looks like this acts as a light shade. So if you want to hide the light, you got a built-in light shade if you want it so you don't see the LEDs from the front. Kind of cool. Okay, once we got it all screwed together, we got this little rubber channel holder so we can hide our wire down the back. There's a rubber pad which likely goes on this part, so I should have probably installed that first. So this is sports for 12 to 20 mil glass, and this little rubber pad that goes on the front is for if you're using it on 10 millimeter glass. So definitely would need this for the Nano, not for the big tank. So let's leave it off first while we do some initial testing and see how she is. Before you mount it for the first time, these screws do suck that plate back, so make sure you wiggle it out to give yourself lots of room, if you have thicker glass at least. So the light was super easy to get added to the tank. Basically found on the network right away, gave it my Wi-Fi, it was connected. Now for the setup mode, if we go to auto mode, we can pick what we want. So there's an SPS, LPS, SPS/LPS, pick your color temperatures if you want warm or cooler. So I'll put it a cooler setting, hit next, sunrise and set, and confirm. So auto jumped into it, and it looks like for the SPS/LPS it put every channel at 80%. So actually let's put it back to the 100% mode, and kind of shows you your light spectrums, which is pretty cool. So basically that's your spectrum with everything on 100%. And to get an idea on par numbers, directly at the surface, we're sitting around 1200, 1500, 1600. Near the back of the tank, about 600. Come to this edge, 600. And if I go directly underneath to the SAM bed, so the SAM bed on this one, I believe it's about 22 inches deep. And I'm getting 350 par at the SAM bed to 380. But definitely no shortage of par coming out of this guy. So if I look at my rock where this little acro is, we're getting about 370. This guy's getting about 350. You know, if I had stuff mid-tank, it would be getting about 640. So this is at 100%. So let me turn it down a little bit to something where I'd more likely use it. It looks like the different modes just adjust the overall intensity for the most part. Okay, so I just popped into manual mode and I put the violets, the blues, the cyans, etc. to 100%. And then I dropped the cool whites, warm whites, reds, etc. down to about 42%. And this is kind of the look where I think most reefers would likely use it. So let's do a bit of a par test now and see the difference. So that acro about 315, this guy about 288. So it's a little bit lower, but not drastically. You know, back of the tank, 260. Directly underneath at the SAM bed where I can get it, we're getting about 250, and I believe it was about 330 before. So still pretty solid when it's on kind of full brightness at settings I think a lot of people use it at. So aesthetically, it is pretty dang thin, which is always nice to see. Got your little funky accent LED up top. I wonder if we can control this with the app. We'll take a look at that in a sec. Underneath, we do have our nice bright ring of light, and it does have that little light shade if you want to pop that on as well. Now it is not silent. You can probably hear the fan. It's on 100%, and it is definitely pushing some air. All right, so I just put the purples and blues, cayenne, put them to around 70-ish, and the other ones around 30 to 40. So the light on top is called the mood light. So we got breathing rainbow, we got Christmas tree, got kaleidoscope, night rider. That's kind of funky. Oh, and you can kind of pick the colors you want with it. That's kind of cool. Let's go for a blue night rider. Not gonna lie, it's not like it helps your aquarium, but it's kind of fun. It is kind of a cool feature. If you had this on like the Nano on the desk with like beside your gaming PC type of deal, like you could totally make your themes all match. So Night Rider, oh, 1982, the newer one, we got Starry Night, Flying Saucer, Rainbow Under the Sea, Breath. Basically you got a whole slew of options on this. You can pick your colors, you can do different effects, color spinner, carousel, bad boys. Yeah, there is no shortage of lighting effects on this thing. But there you guys have it. Something fun to play with. Do you need this fancy lights? No, but yeah, it's kind of fun. Whether or not I'd use it just really depends on the tank location, where it is, go from there. Now, for the actual thing, lights below. Let's crank up the exposure a bit. You can see this is a solid panel of light, so this is pretty solid for kind of spread. Bare LEDs themselves generally have really good spread because you're not focusing the lens, and this definitely has some decent spread coming from it. It is definitely a little more hot spotted in the middle. It does drop off, you know, when you're going to that 2 feet or so, like the far ends away from it. This is a 4-foot tank. There's one of them on it. You know, 2 of them would easily light the tank. Now, a single one of these on a smaller tank would be a decent blanket of light. I think my Nano might be slightly too thin of glass for it. We'll see. I still might try it, but I think I'm a little on the small side to test it. Now, curiosity got the best of me, and this is obviously not meant to be used on a Nano, but that is pretty hardcore. This light is like literally as big as the tank. Now, the only issue here is it definitely extends past it, so the mount, I don't believe it can go any smaller. So obviously you should not be using this on a 14-inch tank, but it's crazy that you could. And just the blanket light, this is crazy. I just dropped all the channels down to about 30% for the blues and 14% for the other ones roughly. So we'll got 38, 33, 24, 15, 14, 14, 15. Just for fun, I'm gonna do a quick part test and see what I'm getting. So on these current settings, at the surface, we are at about 380. If I come down to the top of my gonnies, they would be getting about 160. If I sneak her down to the sand bed, looks like I'm getting about 115 at the sand bed using these settings. So you could absolutely use this on a Nano and it would be awesome in overkill, but keep in mind the front to back mounting would be the limitation. That being said, this might actually work if it was on there. I think 10 mil glass is what it's rated for, and I think this might be 8 or 9, so I think I'm just under it because it's not fully solid. So obviously not the best, but on a Nano, but food for thought. But yeah, it is pretty cool and slightly overkill, but definitely had to try it out. Now, if you had it somewhere where you want to block light from your eyes, it does have this light shade that just clicks onto the front and would block the LEDs so you wouldn't see them unless you're basically laying on the ground. And they have strategically made their logo light up through it, which actually looks kind of cool. But yeah, so that's kind of a nice accessory, especially since it's included in the box. And without it, you have a super duper minimal sleek lighting fixture. Head on, you can't see it. As you drop down, I'm gonna say I'm about a foot below level with the light, and you can start to see it. So kind of gives you a rough idea. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this. Obviously this is slightly overkill for the Nano. One thing I will say, since I dropped this down around the 30th percent, I do not hear this fan. It is pretty much silent. When I had it running on the NIOS at 80 to 100%, I could definitely hear it. It wasn't loud, but also wasn't silent. You know, if you're standing right beside it, you know, your head's a couple feet away, you'll notice it. So yeah, kind of depends on what percentage and where you're running it and the silence level. Now, I don't even think this light is released yet, so I have no idea on pricing. We'll find out in the near future, but yeah, overall, pretty cool fixture. If you guys have any questions on it, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, as always, hit that like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.